I don't think Lex Luthor is that bad. Sure, he does some questionable actions, but if you actually analyze his motivations and character, almost everything he does seems justified.
And everybody knows there's a ton of Lex Luthor content to work with. There have been so many iterations over the years of this guy, along with every other DC character, so it's going to be kind of hard to go over everything. In this, we're mainly going to be sticking to the DC animated universe that a lot of millennials and stuff grew up with, but we are going to be touching into his comic origins, and if there's some really egregious stuff that we feel like we need to defend, we're going to bring up some comic stuff, mainly from New Earth, so that's post-Crisis.
Yeah, so we're only focused on a couple aspects or kind of like the bigger, broader points because he has been retconned as a character throughout his existence within DC Comics. And one of the first things that pops out as something you might think is, oh, Lex, not a good guy for doing this, but killing his parents. There's been times where he was born rich and born poor. This is when he was born poor, but his parents were not good people. And Lex did the 1,000 IQ move of taking a life insurance policy out on them and then making them take a tumble off the cliff.
Yeah, dude, it is a 1,000 IQ move from this guy. He's only a teenager at this point, and he did grow up in Suicide Slum, they call it. Okay, Suicide Slum doesn't sound like that good of a place. And this is from the New Earth universe. This is post-Crisis, but it's not the New 52, right? It's like probably the longest running. Version of him, so that's why we used it. His parents were abusive as hell. They took him to pound school all the time. His hairline probably started thinning and receding in these early teens because of stress from his parents. If I saw that in the mirror when I was like a 13-year-old kid, guess what? My parents are going to get it. And that's what he does. I think if parents are heavily physically abusive to a kid, mom maybe breastfed him until he was a little bit too old against his will, dad maybe got jealous, added to the abuse, something like that, they got to go.
Maybe dad forced him to suck on his nipples.
Yeah, I have nipples, Lex. Can you milk me?
You're never going to ask me, Lex. Get over here. You said about his hair thinning, too. It's funny because in the original way, they explained how his hair was thinning or he went bald was some accident when Superman and him were young, that they were like the best of friends until Superboy, which is Superman when he was younger, caused his hair loss, which, started his descent into madness, which, I mean, going bald at a young age is not a good thing. You should embrace the bald. Bald is beautiful.
Right.
And when you get older, you realize that. But as a young kid, that is terrifying. It's a terrifying feeling that you don't have control over your hairline.
Right. And we're not exactly saying that because he's bald, he killed his parents. But I mean, maybe there's some undertones there. Bottom line, his parents were abusive as hell. He got bald at a young age. He's disgruntled. He's a genius. His parents had to go in order to pave the way. And this life insurance policy that he took out on his parents and the payout he received from it was what funded basically his early ventures in life, which, as we know, ended up landing him in some of the most powerful positions in the country, if not the world. So, I mean, dude, it worked out. He made the right decision.
That's what I like about Lex Luthor is when he is on the path from rags to riches, and he's able to move up the ladder. Now, once he moves up that ladder and how he gets there might not be the most quote-unquote ethical way, right? But if Metropolis is a city kind of like Gotham where they allow people to take advantage of them and it's actually a corrupt city that's just waiting for their pockets to be filled by higher up, when Lex Luthor becomes a corrupt businessman and owns Metropolis to a certain extent, is that really a bad thing on Lex? Or is he just taking advantage of a city, like I just said, with pockets, begging for a big, beautiful, bald businessman to stick his fat cash fingers in their pockets?
Yeah, dude, he's sticking his fat roll in there, roll of cash. And by the way, side note, he is beautiful. He is shredded. He's always jacked out of his mind. He stays in great shape. Where does he find the time of day to do it with all the other stuff he's got going on? Even if he does everything horrible in his life, he's going to get some bonus points just for being yoked, okay? He looks gorgeous. He looks beautiful. But the thing is, there's no evidence that I've seen that long-term or big picture-wise, he makes Metropolis a worse place to live than it would be otherwise or was beforehand. Of course, I'm not defending like a corrupt politician or corrupt mayor or whatever, right? But it's like, if I go in there and I become a corrupt politician who ends up turning my like only okay city into like this economic booming super technological powerhouse or whatever, and it's like equally as corrupt as before, that's still a net positive, right? Like I'm sure.
Yeah, would you rather be living in Lex Luthor's Metropolis where he's a little corrupt, little stinker a little bit, or Suicide, Valley where he lived at? Where was the place he lived at?
Suicide Slum.
Suicide Slum. I mean, if I had to pick one or the other, I think I'm picking the corrupt Lex Luthor Metropolis to live in. Like, yeah, I might get screwed over once in a while by Big L, but it's not nearly as bad as literally looking into the void every day as I walk outside my house wondering I should take my own life or not.
Dude, that's exactly right. I'd rather live in Lex's Metropolis where I can like wave my hand over a public trash can and it opens for me so I don't have to touch it, versus Gotham where if I don't even have a public trash can available to me because the government can't afford to provide one, and then I spit my gum on the ground, and then sure as shit, Batman comes from around the corner and beats me within an inch of my life because I just littered. You know, I'm choosing Lex
Singapore
Luthor's.
Batman.
Right, I'm choosing Lex Luthor's Metropolis every day of the week.
So a lot of Lex's actions are motivated by his rivalry with Superman when it comes to his actions within Metropolis. So one of the things that Luthor has done is frame him for crimes, but also make him look bad when it comes to saving the wrong people, like Toy Man in Lex Luthor Man of Steel.
Vast majority of Lex Luthor's quote-unquote crimes are framing Superman for things and trying to kill Superman with various means. And this comic that you bring up, this Lex Luthor Man of Steel, this is an example of one of the New Earth comics, and it shows this alternate reality, or not alternate reality, an alternate perspective into why Lex does the things he does. It's kind of from his point of view, and we really get to understand his mentality of Superman is a foreign entity that has come to Earth. He has godlike abilities. He's not omniscient, though, and doesn't have this pristine, perfect moral compass, or at least if he does, there's no way to prove that. He can still make decisions, and we've seen many instances of Superman losing his cool over the years, too, depending on the situation. So when he is trying to get at this guy, he's really trying to save overall humanity long term, because if Superman wants to, he could end the human race in one day. So if Lex has to, let's say, blow up a building like he did in this comic and frame Toyman for it, even though it had a bunch of kids in it, like 60-something kids, I believe, even though those kids died and that's wrong, in Lex's mind, the positive effect of this is going to be the public no longer sees Superman as a god, and eventually down the road, he could be like taken out of this godlike position.
Right, yeah, he's looking in the long term versus Superman is looking short term. And looking at Lex Luthor or Superman in that dynamic of, hey, who's actually looking out for the best for humanity in the long run? And like, what do they actually expect out of mankind? Who's actually looking out for them? And if you say, oh yeah, Lex is just looking out for his self-interest, yeah, maybe a little bit, but his motivations and his logic is sound. That how would you expect the child / Metropolis to ever walk or crawl if Superman, the mother, just keeps picking up the baby the whole entire time, right? Like, why would it ever learn how to walk or defend itself outside of the dependency on Superman if Superman's always there? And then also Superman is, as far as we know, because we don't know that much about Superman from like a public point of view, you know, in the comics we understand it because we are in his head, we actually see his motivations, but Lex Luthor, you know, is just seeing him as a, like you said, a foreign entity. If that entity for whatever reason goes bad, you know, like we see, you know, again, Injustice, but also, you know, you see alternate universe versions of this character like Homelander. If this guy ever goes bad, we are so screwed. He's basically like a god compared to us. So we're only thankful that he was raised by these wholesome Kansas parents that keep him in line for the most part, but all it takes for him is to flip a switch or just have some bad medication, or, you know, mixes the wrong thing with something else, and all of a sudden he is crushing people. And what are we supposed to do about that? There's no contingency plan. Batman at least understands that. Batman understands there needs to be contingency plans with Superman. Right,
he does, and Lex understands that too. That is, in fact, Lex's top priority, not even his second or third priority like it is with Batman. He reminds us constantly in this comic that we're talking about. If anybody hasn't read it, you should go read it because it has super good art. That's why I read it a long time ago, just because it has good art, and then it's like, oh, you know, story's pretty fucking good here too. But he says, it's like, all these people are deceived because this god looks like a man, but he's not a man. He's an alien. He just looks like us. That doesn't mean he actually is one of us. He has far more power than we do. His reasoning might not be the same. We just don't know. It's just putting a lot of faith in objective uncertainty. So what does he do to try to get at Superman? One, he frames him for things, yes, but also Kryptonite. When Kryptonite is discovered, and it's discovered to be a weakness of Superman, right? It's something that Lex immediately obviously sees, because he's like, okay, shit, this is the key. This is the key to accomplishing what I want, to, if not kill this guy, at least just have something in my possession, and possibly in the possession of every human, because I'm sure Lex would like nothing more than to arm every human on Earth with a small piece of Kryptonite, so that Superman doesn't have supreme reign over every human on Earth, you know? Just something to deter Superman from doing something horrible in the future. That's what
Right,
and he gets a lot of scrutiny for that. Like scientists and whatever say, Lex, we should be using this for the good of humanity. It's like, do you think this is not for the good of humanity? Like, what's more beneficial, dude? Like curing diseases like type 2 diabetes or a lot of cancers where it's like lifestyle based? Or is it best to have a deterrent against a non-omniscient God who could snap his fingers and kill every child on Earth?
Yeah, I'd say that one, because as much as we want to will ourselves to be stronger than Superman, we can't. We can will ourselves for the most part over these other diseases, like you said, that are choice-based, lifestyle-based. Yeah, we need something to deter Superman from potentially turning on us and becoming an overlord in an instant. And also, we have not only Superman, but because Superman's here, which is, oh, what a great thing we have Superman here. He's inviting all these other challenges to Earth. Without Superman here, I feel like we wouldn't have nearly as many galactic issues coming up because we don't have Superman here. We would be, for the most part, fine or not nearly as targeted. But because Superman is so powerful and on a galactic scale is a challenge, it invites people, kind of like One Punch Man, where the guy is searching for the ultimate challenge and eventually comes to Earth. There's probably so many comparable examples of this within fiction, but yeah, without Superman here, I think we wouldn't have nearly as many threats here on Earth.
That's right. And you wouldn't have, also, this is kind of a circular logic, but you wouldn't have Lex then doing all of these malicious things to try to take him out either if there is no Superman. So, and that ends up having casualties along the way. Another thing that he does along this same vein, okay, that he gets a lot of crap for, is creating Superman clones, right? He actually creates several villains, but maybe one of the most notable is Bizarro, from making a lot of different Superman clones to try to create a version of him that can be controlled in order to combat him and people like him, right? It's not just Superman. It's like the whole Justice League. It's like these superpowered people that come to Earth. Like they have to have a leash on them. It just happens to be Superman is his main target because Superman is the most powerful and he's kind of like the first one, right, to start messing with Metropolis. So created Bizarro. He also created Superboy in the Young Justice world and in some comic universes as well. It's like,
yeah, it does kind of blow up in his face, Lex Luthor's face, but at the same point, he is like forwarding technological advancements by creating these entities, even though a lot of them are failures. Like, you know, whatever you think about Elon Musk, you see how many failures they have for rockets, and you could just laugh. You're like, oh, look at this rocket blowing up. But then you see that one rocket shoot up and kind of like perfectly lands. I forgot which one it is. You know, where
with the arms
itself. Yeah, you're like, what the? Like, if you didn't have all those failures, you would never be able to do something amazing like that. So I still think Lex is on the path to making something completely perfect. But of course, you're going to have some bad eggs like Bizarro, or I think in the animated series, he's the one behind making Metal. And if someone wants to defend Metal is not a good guy, okay? Even though arguably Lex Luthor poisoned him to put him in a situation where it's like, hey, this is the only way you could live, Metal.
Yeah.
Or whatever his name is, John.
Yeah.
John Corbin. And the only way you can live is if you do this. The guy's not a good guy, okay? So chill out. I don't want to hear it.
Right. These are just examples of things that he did that people say, oh, he's so evil, he's the worst. But he's not that bad, okay? There's a good-hearted reason behind it.
And the only time I don't think he has a good reason for something is when he's president. This is like the Public Enemies storyline.
Yeah.
Where he eventually is trying to like take out this Kryptonite meteor behind, not letting Superman know about it. And it turns out this whole entire time why Lex Luthor is kind of being a little cuckoo, he's been doing Kryptonite steroids, right? He's been just injecting himself.
He's been roiding up.
Straight up Kryptonite. Yeah.
He's on gear, man. And by the way, too, he gets word that a giant meteor is coming toward Earth. That's Kryptonite. He doesn't know the origin of it. No one knows the origin of it, but it's a giant Kryptonite meteor. Who do we know that's related to Krypton and Kryptonite on Earth? Superman, a guy that I hate. It's not going to be difficult to connect the dots that I think it's this guy's fault. And by the way, eventually he informs the public and tries to frame Superman for this or whatever. But in his mind, I don't think he is framing Superman. I think he thinks it's him, or at least there's a good reason to believe it. It's their best guess, right? Like, who else would it be? And what he informs the public after going through like normal lengths to try to destroy this thing, right? Like he boom tubes a bunch of nukes up there to try to take it out, and that doesn't work. It's not until he's at his wit's end, he's like, all right, guess what, everybody? There's going to be a massive meteor that may or may not strike here. Superman did it. That's your guy. We're putting him under arrest, and Batman's helping him. He's going to be under arrest too. And you can say, but those are the good guys. You can't arrest the good guys. It's like, okay, look at the situation we're in here. We're talking about like a potentially apocalyptic event. Not to mention, Lex is on steroids. He is roided up, not natty anymore. So if you want to call him evil for not being natty, but he never claimed natty either.
Yeah,
I've never seen
that
him
would be
claim
the
natty.
crime. Yeah. I think we couldn't even make this video if he claimed to be natty.
Right, because he's clearly not natty, at least not in this moment. So he challenges Superman
Right.
to a 1v1 in the end. And this is the truly egregious part, okay? This is the part that we have to defend. After he's fighting Superman and this meteor is coming down, like basically to Earth at this point, it's kind of one of those third act scenes. In order to stack the deck in his favor, he also launches basically like a nuclear launch sequence at the same time, and he has a giant warhead that's laced with kryptonite that's going to be kind of coming from behind him to take out Superman above Metropolis, and the result of this was going to basically be destroying all of Metropolis, which is not great. It's not great. A lot of civilian casualties, but I think it's pretty damn easy just to claim insanity here, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting pumped. Who else has been pumped full of kryptonite steroids and has been able to organize anything coherently? We have no A/B test for this. We only have him, so we can only assume because I don't think Lex has ever done anything. And Lex does not want to kill people, okay? A lot of people are saying, oh, yeah, Lex would do anything. It's like, no, he doesn't want to kill people. He might sacrifice some people right now, but I think that's different than just outright killing people, you know? So I don't believe this. Insanity, I totally agree.
Yeah, he's not really a mustache twirly villain. He's actually a pretty calculated dude with real purpose. He's not just a sadistic dude who wants to kill for no reason. I think few villains are, and he's definitely among them. So another family of crimes that he likes to commit is assemble other supervillains to try to take out Superman and the Justice League.
Who may or may not be mustache twirling.
Who may or may not be the mustache twirling villains we were just talking about. At least in the animated series, a lot of times it happens right after his prison sentence. So he's in prison one time. He ends up breaking out with Ultra Humanite, which is, of course, dude, super intelligent ape. That already gets him some points in my book. Anytime he's allied with an intelligent ape. I mean, what about you, Dot Boy? What do you think about intelligent apes?
Dude, Gorilla Grodd. That scratches an itch for me so hard, dude. I love Gorilla Grodd. Anytime you have an intelligent ape, a gorilla speaking not only English, but is being an intellectual. I love it. I love every second of it.
Like throwing like a transatlantic accent, and it's like, dude, chef's kiss, that intelligent ape. So he breaks out, he forms a little ragtag group with like Solomon Grundy and a couple other people, and they want to destroy the Justice League. It doesn't work, but, you know, it's again one of these situations. He is now in jail. He believes that the villains won. When he's in jail, he thinks that the villains won. These are just ticking time bombs waiting to destroy the Earth. And these villains that he's kind of teaming up with in order to take revenge or whatever, he knows that these villains are the inferior ones, right? Like it's an underdog's game to try to take out the Justice League. He's like really the only A-lister on that team. He's working with Solomon got born on a Monday.
I hate Solomon Grundy, dude. I hate that.
Let's say they manage to take out the Justice League. These dudes are going straight to jail that he worked with. It's only a means to an end.
Right. He would throw them away in jail as soon as he takes control. He's only using them as a vehicle to get what he wants in that moment. His only choice is to work with these people. It's not like he has an opportunity while he's in there to, you know, side with whatever superhero, right? There's no heroes in there. So if you're going to push him into a circle full of villains and you expect him just to isolate himself and not take advantage of all these highly skilled individuals that happen to be evil, that's just idiotic. Like, Lex is going to use whatever tools you give him to craft not only his escape, but potentially his rise back into power and take down Superman. He does side with, or he's been aligned with Wayne Enterprises, LexCorp, and we think Wayne Enterprises is good. So he will just make allies, friends with people who can help out his best interests. And they're not always villains. It's just when you put him in a prison, who do you expect him to be friends with, right?
Oh, correct. And it happens again, by the way. And this time, he breaks out and is immediately in the Legion of Doom with Gorilla Grodd. So the other super intelligent ape, which is our favorite one on this channel. I think our least favorite is that one that has like the little military beret on. Not a fan of that guy.
Yeah, no, Gorilla Grodd is the GOAT, and I mean, I would love to do In Defense of Gorilla Grodd, but Gorilla Grodd's plan I think it's just in the animated series, it might be in the actual comics as well, where he wants to turn everybody on Earth into apes. That's hard to defend because Lex Luthor saved us from that reality. Thank you, Lex. Everyone should be on their knees thanking Lex for what he did for mankind.
Yes, thank you, Lex. Praise be upon him. That's a perfect example of a good. Yes, that alone right there takes all of his negative traits and turns him to dust.
Yeah, and the other time he kind of teams up, but this is quite literally infusing himself, is with Brainiac, and that is really motivated because he's dying of cancer, right? When he has that kryptonite around him for that entire time, when it's like, yeah, it's not lethal unless you're around it 24/7. And Lex is like, dude, I have literally kryptonite on me at all times. Shit, so he's going to die from it. That's the only reason why he goes with Brainiac. It's not like because he's like, I really just need to up my intelligence. He needs him at that point, and then that becomes a very, very toxic relationship for him because that's all he wants is to come back to him. But at the end, Lex is a good guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. When he's fused with Brainiac and they go on this quest to acquire all knowledge and do whatever, it's Brainiac that wants to, basically destroy everything, like turn everything into like a slave state. That's not what he wants to do. Lex is like, why don't we just pump the brakes on that a little bit? We're going to learn everything there is to learn, and then we'll decide what we want to do with everything. Because I'm not sure. Let's not rush into anything. He's actually the one that does that.
I like the idea of him moving to the bottom of the queue. He's like, I like that. Just move it to the bottom. Like, put everything up.
Yeah, save for later.
Up next. Yeah.
There is a time where he tried to topple the Justice League, kind of similarly to when he does with the Legion of Doom with the robot called Amazo, right? Amazo, he does it, and Amazo ends up biting on Lex's manipulation, and he goes and starts absorbing the abilities of all the Justice League and taking them out until he absorbs Martian Manhunters, and then Martian Manhunter's ability lets him read Lex's mind and realize that everything was a lie, and then that's just whatever. Lex's plan is thwarted. But Amazo ends up coming back later because he has no purpose. He sees Lex like, what does it mean to love, Master? And he ends up basically deciding, I have no purpose, therefore no one's going to have any purpose, and I'm going to destroy everything because there's nothing that I can't conquer, and conquering is going to be my default since I have no predetermined purpose. And Lex basically just talks him out of it. He's the one who kind of lays his heart out on the table and says, hey man, look, I used to think the same way as you, but now I understand that I don't need that kind of thing in my life anymore. So he kind of talks him off the ledge and saves everybody from Amazo.
Yeah, and the Justice League, I don't know if it's Justice League or Justice League Unlimited, but, Clancy Brown delivering those lines, too, to Amazo, where he's just like,
yes,
isn't that what it's all worth? Dude, Clancy Brown is the definitive voice for Lex Luthor for me, too, yeah. It's a great arc for Lex.
Clancy Brown voices like every DC villain in the animated universe for a while. It's hilarious. But that is not the only time that Lex saves humanity. This next example might be the only reason you need to understand that Lex is not the selfish, sadistic villain that he's portrayed to be most of the time. At the very end of Justice League Unlimited, when Darkseid is on Earth and he has Brainiac now attached to him, and Lex has been gone for a while, right? He's been kind of trying to... We don't exactly know what Lex has been up to. Darkseid is about to destroy everything. He just took Superman to pound school. He just took Batman to pound school. Lex arrives, and he has acquired the anti-life equation. And he offers it to Darkseid, but psych, it's actually going to kill us both. So Lex actually does give up his life.
Donkey Kong grip off of the edge of the map, Super Smash Bros. Style.
Yeah, dude, spikes him down. So at the end of the day, Lex was willing to sacrifice himself to save the universe from Darkseid.
It's great, and everyone acknowledges that Lex has some maybe not great traits, but at the end of the day, he did what's best for mankind. And at the final moment, when all the cards were laid down, what did Lex do? And this happens in the comics as well, where, when it was humanity at stake, what is he going to do? And he sides with humanity. Lex wants what's best for mankind. Now, you might argue like, oh, he just wants his ego to be stroked, but come on, dude. Lex is a good guy. Just stop that. Lex is a good guy. And also his drip's on point. When he comes back, he gives him like a 3-piece suit coming up to Darkseid. Darkseid's like, damn, look at Lex. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He could be handing me a piece of dog shit, and I would smile and nod. Yes, this is the anti-life equation because I don't want to look like an idiot in front of this guy. And he is ripped.
Hey, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this and smash that like button.
Or not. We don't care.